It's Robert. I'm about to see Wicked for the second time.
So it's better the second time. It's so good. And I cried the first time I started crying at the ballroom scene. This time I started crying at The Wizard and I can't wait to see it again. I just got home from watching Wicked for the second time at the movie theater, and I am floored that I was even more floored than the first time I saw it. It is an incredible movie that I initially was skeptical before seeing it for the first time. As a person who enjoys musical theater, who saw Wicked on stage back around 2008, 2009 with the touring company when it came to Pittsburgh. As someone who, like so many of us, has been heartbroken from adaptations. I remember my first heartbreak, which was after I read Jurassic Park and then went to go see the movie, and just being so angry that it strayed from the source material. And so my skepticism of, while I appreciate Ariana Grande, she's not my vocalist. I find her voice is amazing, but for me, it just lacks a little. She has some great singles, but for me, her albums don't overwhelm me. But this isn't to say, she's not worried about my opinion, nor is her bank account. She's great. But I was skeptical for the CGI. I was skeptical for the length, because I was like, the musical's 3 hours. What are we going to be doing for 2 hours and 40 minutes? And none of that mattered, because that movie is incredible. And it's such a testimony to what happens when you have attention to detail on every level. John Shu's an amazing director, but the wardrobe, the acting, the script, having Steven Schwartz on site directing the music, the man who wrote the musical, it's just an incredible film that really speaks to a powerful storyline, which simply boils down to, this idea of wicked and good, and how so much of it matters about who you are and what stories, to terribly paraphrase Ta-Nehisi Coates, it always comes down to what stories get to be told and what stories don't. And we believe whatever stories that we come across. So seeing it a second time was just too much. I started crying from the first note Cynthia Erivo started singing at The Wizard and Me. I did not stop crying. I stayed emotional. I might start crying now. It's so good. But what I wanted to say was something that really struck me seeing it the second time is creating my own story and watching Alphaba character evolve, and as she starts to become more trusting. And so it really hurt me, that first initial scene where after her sister's prompting, she goes to Glinda, who gives her the hat, and she's starting to see the good in folks and wants to start trusting. But of course, in the ballroom scene, when she walks in with that fucking snatched mushroom dress that just still blows my mind, because girl, her waist was wasting. And, so good. But, when she starts dancing and everyone's watching, it was even more heartbreaking, because it really sat with me as how the majority always let you down. As a black kid and who whiteness has let me down. As a gay person, heterosexuality has let me down. And you want to trust and you want to believe that these larger forces have your well-meaning. And then once you realize that you've been allowed in certain circles, but you're not being accepted in those circles, you're there for entertainment, for fodder. And it hurts when you realize that you've been deceived. And then you have to step back and decide how you're going to move forward and with your humanity intact, but also being true to yourself And so you see that character development, and then forward to Defying Gravity, which, I mean, they already knocked it out the park. Like Stephen Schwartz said himself, like that is the heart of the movie, that scene and that song. And so they just murdered it. And then to personally be sitting there as this Black queer kid, now in a 45-year-old body, and like the storyline resonating with me on a deeper level, watching it the second time, it's just so good. I haven't been this enamored with a movie, I think, since Romeo and Juliet, the Leonardo DiCaprio version back in the 90s. I remember going to see it 5 times at the movie theater and just enthralled with this work of art. And so, you know, fast forward to seeing an adaptation that fulfilled all of its expectations, that is allowing me to trust and believe in art, that it can live up to expectations. Like, you don't have to accept disappointment, that it can be good, it can be mind-blowingly good if it's done well. To have that wonderfully naive energy again about it, to be touched, it's just so good. I can't get enough. I hope you see it. I can't wait to talk about it more. I love you all. This is a little off the script video, but I just had to make it, and I'll talk to you all soon. Love you. Your favorite Black gay uncle.